You just laughed today. Maybe it's something stupid. Maybe it's something that wasn't even that funny. And if someone asked you why, really why, you laughed, you'd probably say something like, because it was funny, which is a completely useless answer. Why did you laugh? Because it was funny. What does funny mean? It means it made me laugh. Congratulations, you've just described a circle. Here's what's actually happening when you laugh. Here's why it exists. Here's why it's older than language, older than civilization, and possibly older than the thing that makes us human in the first place. And here's why no other animal on Earth laughs the way you do. Well, almost no other animal. More on that in a minute. I'm Bitsy. This is Useful Bits TV. Let's actually answer this one. Let's start simple. What is laughter, physically? When you laugh, your diaphragm, the muscle under your lungs, starts contracting involuntarily. This forces air out of your lungs in short bursts. Your vocal cords vibrate. Your face scrunches up. You lose control of your own body for a few seconds. That's it. That's laughing. Your body briefly malfunctions in a way your brain finds acceptable. Now here's the first interesting thing. You cannot fully fake a laugh. You can make a laughing sound. You can do the ha 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 out loud at your boss's joke that wasn't funny. We've all done this. We are not proud of it. But a real laugh, scientists call it a Duchenne laugh, named after a French neurologist called Duchenne de Boulogne, who spent his career poking people's faces with electrodes. A real laugh involves a specific muscle around your eye called the orbicularis oculi. When you genuinely laugh, your eyes crinkle involuntarily. You can't fake that muscle contraction on command, which means every time someone has let out a polite laugh at something that wasn't funny, their face immediately gave them away. This is very funny to know, especially in professional meetings. Researchers can tell the difference between a genuine and a fake laugh from a brain scan in milliseconds. Your brain processes fake laughter in a completely different region from real laughter. You literally know, before you consciously register it, whether someone is actually laughing or performing. So, you're not as good at faking it as you thought, and neither is anyone else. Now, here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Where did laughter come from? The honest answer, and this is rare for science, is that we actually have a pretty good idea. Laughter is between 10 and 16 million years old. That's the estimate based on when great apes and humans diverged from a common ancestor. And we know this because, and here's your first surprising fact of the day, great apes laugh. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and bonobos all produce laugh-like vocalizations, primarily when they're being tickled or wrestling during play. The catch? You wouldn't recognize it as laughing if you heard it. Chimpanzee laughter sounds like rapid panting, like they're out of breath. It's generated by alternating inhales and exhales rather than one continuous exhale like human laughter. There's a specific reason for this, and it connects to something bigger, but we'll get there. The point is, laughter, in some form, predates humans. It predates language. It predates agriculture, civilization, writing, and whatever it is we've convinced ourselves makes us special. It started as a play signal, an ancient form of saying, this is safe, we're playing, nobody's going to get hurt, the animal equivalent of a referee blowing a whistle, except the whistle is your body involuntarily making a sound. Now here's the part that changes everything. Rats also laugh. I'll give you a second. In the late 1990s, neuroscientist Jaak Panksepp at Bowling Green State University started tickling rats, scientifically, for research purposes. What he found was that rats produce high-frequency ultrasonic chirps, around 50 kilohertz, when they're tickled or playing. The frequency is so high that humans can't hear it without specialized equipment. But when he lowered the pitch and played the recordings back, it sounds remarkably like a child laughing. And here's the behavior that sealed it. Young rats actively sought out the tickling. They followed the researcher's hand around the cage, trying to get tickled again. They preferred spending time with rats that chirped more. Rats seeking out laughter because it feels good, which means laughter as a positive social signal is not uniquely primate, it's not even uniquely mammal. A 2021 study published in Bioacoustics identified laughter-like vocalizations in 65 different animal species, including some birds. 65 species. Laughing. So the title of this video is slightly misleading. I apologize, but only slightly. Because what humans do with laughter, that is unique. Completely. So, if 65 species produce laughter-like vocalizations, what makes ours special? Three things, and they're all connected. First, the sound itself. Human laughter is produced entirely on the exhale, one continuous outward breath, broken into rhythmic pulses. Ha, ha, ha. Every other primate laughs on both the inhale and the exhale, alternating. In, out, in, out. Why the difference? Walking upright. When your ancestors started walking on two legs instead of four, their chests were freed from absorbing the impact of their forelimbs. Their breathing became decoupled from their movement. They could control their exhale much more precisely. This is actually why humans can speak and other apes can't. The same anatomical change that gave us fine control over our breath, gave us language, and gave us our distinctive laughing sound. Your laugh is a side effect of the same evolutionary change that gave you the ability to talk. That's either profound or mildly disappointing, depending on your perspective. Second, the volume. Humans are the only great apes that laugh loudly. Chimpanzee laughter is quiet, breathy, close range. It's designed to communicate to the person you're wrestling with, not to an entire group. Human laughter carries, it echoes, it's designed to be heard by everyone in range. Why? Because of what human laughter evolved to do, which brings us to the third thing. And this is the big one, humans laugh at jokes. No other animal does this, not even close. Chimpanzees laugh when tickled, when playing, when physically stimulated. Humans laugh at words, at ideas, at the memory of something that happened 3 years ago, at a sentence that creates an image in our brain that didn't exist before we read it. We laugh at things that aren't happening, at things that will never happen, at things that couldn't possibly happen. Robin Dunbar, professor of evolutionary psychology at Oxford, says it directly: the use of language-based jokes is clearly unique to humans. No other animal tells jokes, because no other animal has language sophisticated enough to set up a premise, create an expectation, and then violate that expectation at exactly the right moment, which is actually the entire neurological mechanism behind humor. But we'll get to that. What actually happens in your brain when something is funny? Three regions fire in sequence, fast. The frontal cortex, your thinking brain, processes the setup. It builds an expectation of what's supposed to happen next. Then something unexpected happens. The expectation gets violated. The limbic system, your emotional brain, responds to the violation. It checks. Is this dangerous? No? Then it's safe. The nucleus accumbens, your reward center, releases dopamine, the same chemical that fires when you eat good food or fall in love. That's the neurological definition of funny. Your brain built an expectation, got surprised, confirmed it wasn't a threat, and rewarded you for noticing the incongruity. This is called the incongruity theory of humor, and it's the closest science has come to explaining what funny actually means. Something is funny when it's unexpected and safe. That's it. That's the whole formula. Which explains why the same joke is funnier the first time than the 10th time. Because on the 10th time, your brain already knows the expectation will be violated. The surprise is gone. No surprise, no dopamine. It also explains why humor is incredibly culturally specific. What counts as a safe violation of expectations depends entirely on what you consider normal, which varies enormously between cultures, communities, and people. And it explains why nobody can force themselves to find something funny. You cannot make your frontal cortex build the wrong expectation on purpose. You cannot manually trigger your reward center. Nobody has ever successfully laughed their way into finding something funny. You either find it funny or you don't. Your brain decides before you do. Now here's the chemical part, because this is where laughter stops being interesting and becomes extraordinary. When you laugh, genuinely laugh, your brain releases endorphins, the same chemical family as morphine, natural painkillers. Oxford professor Robin Dunbar's research showed that genuine laughter increases your pain tolerance by approximately 10% for 15 to 30 minutes after the laughter stops. A 30-second genuine laughing fit also lowers cortisol, your stress hormone, releases dopamine, boosts immune function, improves cardiovascular health. No pharmaceutical does all of that simultaneously, with zero side effects. Your body figured out how to give you a legal painkiller, stress reliever, and immune booster all at once, using just your diaphragm. and it's completely free, which is either the most incredible thing you've heard today or a sign that we are spending a lot of money on things we don't need. Here's the part nobody thinks about. We think of laughter as a response to something funny, like the sequence is joke happens, then laughter happens. But that's actually backwards. Research shows that most human laughter, the vast majority of it, does not follow a joke. Robert Provine, a neuroscientist who spent years studying laughter in natural settings, not labs, but actual conversations, found that people laugh most during ordinary conversation, not at punchlines, not at funny videos, at statements like, I'll see you later, or it was nice meeting you. The most common trigger for laughter is just being with people you're comfortable with. Laughter is primarily a social signal, not a humor response. Think about it. You laugh far more with friends than alone. You laugh at things in a group that you wouldn't find funny by yourself. You've watched a comedy alone and barely smiled, then watched the exact same thing with friends and found it hilarious. The humor didn't change. The social context did. Here's why this evolved. And this is the insight from Robin Dunbar's work published in the Royal Society Journal. Our ancient primate ancestors bonded their social groups through grooming, physical touching, picking through each other's fur. This releases endorphins and creates trust and connection. But grooming has a hard limit. You can only groom one animal at a time, which means the size of a group that can be bonded by grooming is limited. As human groups got larger, as we started needing to cooperate with more people than you could physically touch, we needed a new bonding mechanism. Laughter became that mechanism. When a group laughs together, endorphins are released in every person laughing simultaneously, the social bonding effect of grooming, but at scale, with an entire group at once. Dunbar's theory is that laughter is essentially a form of mass grooming. You're not laughing because something is funny. You're laughing because your brain is chemically bonding you to the people around you. The joke is just the excuse. Every time you've laughed at something that wasn't even that funny, but everyone around you was laughing, that wasn't weakness. That was your social bonding system working exactly as designed. Laughter is contagious by neurological design. Your mirror neurons, brain cells that automatically mimic what you observe, fire when you hear laughter, making you more likely to laugh too. This means laughter can spread through a group the way a wave moves through water. One genuine laugh triggers another, which triggers another, until the whole room is releasing endorphins together. Which is why laugh tracks on television exist, and why they work, even when we know they're fake. Your mirror neurons don't care that it's fake. They just hear laughter and respond. You've been chemically manipulated by sitcoms for decades. You're welcome for that information. Now, there's a side to laughter that we don't talk about much, because it's uncomfortable. Not all laughter is friendly. Researchers identify at least two completely distinct types of human laughter. Duchenne laughter, the genuine kind, involving the eye muscles, the endorphins, the social bonding, and non-Duchenne laughter, the performed kind, the polite laugh, the nervous laugh. But there's a third category that's been studied extensively: superiority laughter, laughing at someone, not with them. Thomas Hobbes, the 17th century philosopher, had a theory of laughter that was completely different from the incongruity theory. He called it the superiority theory. His argument was that laughter is fundamentally about feeling better than someone else, the sudden realization of some advantage you have over another person. Someone slips on ice, you laugh, not because it's surprising, although it is, but because for a brief moment you feel superior. It didn't happen to you. Slapstick comedy, someone getting hit in the face, falling over, making a fool of themselves, is the oldest form of human humor precisely because it activates this deeply ancient response. And here's the uncomfortable part. Superiority laughter releases the same endorphins as bonding laughter. Your brain doesn't distinguish between we're laughing together and we're laughing at someone. Both feel good. Mockery, ridicule, bullying, they're all built on this same neurological response. The same mechanism that bonds groups together can be used to exclude and demean. The same brain chemistry, two completely different social outcomes. Which means laughter is not inherently kind, it's inherently powerful. What you do with that power is the part that's up to you. We've established that 65 species produce laughter-like sounds, that great apes laugh during play, that rats chirp when tickled. So, what genuinely is unique about human laughter? One thing: we laugh at things that don't exist. A chimpanzee laughs because something is physically happening to it right now. Someone is tickling it. It is wrestling with a friend. Humans laugh at a sentence describing an imaginary scenario involving people who don't exist in a situation that never happened. We laugh at fiction, at hypotheticals, at the idea of something. That requires a brain capable of constructing an imaginary world, populating it with imaginary people, predicting what those people would do, being surprised when they do something different, checking whether the surprise is safe, and then releasing dopamine as a reward. All of that happens in milliseconds without you trying. No other animal does this because no other animal has the cognitive architecture to build a fake world in their head and then react to events in that fake world. Humor is not a side effect of intelligence. It might be one of its best tests. The fact that you can find something funny that has never happened and never will, that you can laugh at an idea, is evidence of something extraordinary happening in your brain. Something 65 other species that also laugh cannot do. So, why do humans laugh? Because 10 to 16 million years ago, our ancestors inherited a play signal from a common ancestor with the great apes. Because walking upright freed our chests and gave us enough vocal control to make it louder and more expressive. Because our groups got too large to bond through physical touch alone, and laughter became our mass grooming system. Because our brains evolved to reward the detection of safe surprises with dopamine and endorphins. And because at some point, language gave us the ability to create surprises entirely in our own heads, no tickling required. That's the full story. A 16 million year journey from a panting ape to whatever it is you're doing when someone sends you a meme at midnight. Same mechanism, different expression. If you found this useful or found yourself smiling at any point during a video about the science of smiling, which would be deeply appropriate, hit subscribe. New video every week. I'm Bitsy. This is Useful Bits TV. See you next one.